This is Guitar Business Radio, the podcast for the business of guitar. No reviews, no demos, no idle chatter, just useful dialogue and information to help you get the most out of your guitar-related business. Whether you're a guitar builder or a guitar player or just something in between, this is for you. Now, here's your host. Oh, wait, it's me, Jeffrey D. Brown. So let's get to it. Well, here we are at episode 3 already, and thanks for joining us. It's been a busy few weeks. It seems to be getting busier. I guess that's probably a good sign. So far, so good. I want to take a few moments right off the bat here to tell you about a couple of new segments we'll be adding in our upcoming episodes. First, we've adapted a podcast version of a popular feature that first appeared way back in about 2002 or 3 in an early online magazine that I produced called Trade Show Blues. Some of you might have seen it, but I doubt many. It was a lot of fun, but it was really ahead of its time, which I guess is just another way of saying it didn't make any money in those days. But we had a large following for a medium that was still fairly new, and I think that was due in large part to the fact that we broke all the rules. Trade Show Blues was bold and irreverent and poked fun at people and companies who took their business way too seriously. Because the industry was in terrible shape after 9/11 and the recession that followed, we showed up with something that truthfully had never been seen before, at least in that industry. And it woke a lot of them up and put a smile on many faces, but not everybody was impressed, unfortunately. Change is not comfortable for many, and we were changing the landscape and questioning the so-called establishment of that time. They didn't like it much, but a lot of folks did. One of our more popular sections was simply called The Shorts. These were just brief news bites about companies and organizations that we felt would be of particular interest to our readers. So we're bringing it back to Guitar Business Radio in a new format and a different medium. So if you'd like to submit something about your company or organization for inclusion in the shorts, head over to our website at guitarbusinessradio.com and click Participate. Also, we're adding another segment, which was probably the most popular feature on Trade Show Blues, and it was called Spill the Beans. This was our rather unseemly spin on what is typically called people news in trade journals. It covered hires, fires, promotions, awards, you name it. Anything to do with people in the business. So now, on Guitar Business Radio, you can spill the beans on your employees, coworkers, or even your boss. And we'll cover the best of the bunch, with a twist, of course. Again, you can submit your people news on our website. Just click Participate. Scroll down to the form on the page. And you can always email us directly, if you like, at contact@guitarbusinessradio.com. So we had a lot of good response to our interview with Pat Wilkins in episode 2. Pat has a lot of friends in the business, as we found out. And here's a few comments from the website. Kevin Hill writes, just wanted to admit that Pat does the majority of our finish work, and it was nice to see him acknowledged. There are quite a few of us who believe that he is our secret weapon, which I guess isn't actually so secret after all. Nice radio show, too. Looking forward to future installments. Terry Moss chimed in with, just got through listening to episode 2. I really enjoyed the interview with Pat Wilkins, and I totally agree with him. There is nothing better than playing music with other people. As a guitar teacher, I encourage my students to try new things out and play with friends at every chance they get. This, I believe, is the way to really improve and enjoy making music. Keep up the good work. Your show is great. And finally, Andy Beach adds, I really like what you're doing. Hopefully the show will shed some light on our industry. I used to work with Mark Lacey in the late 80s, and being in LA, Pat Wilkins was the guy for getting paintwork done. Ironic that they were your first 2 guests. Well, thanks, guys, for those inspiring words. We have some very interesting shows coming, and we'll be featuring some interviews with such industry characters as Dennis Mullen, who has carved a unique niche in his segment of the industry with pro-tone pedals. Also joining us will be Bill Conklin, who has really extended our collective range at Conklin Guitars. And we'll hear from Corey Batson on making the big shift from 20 years of building custom guitars locally to introducing a line of imported instruments that meet the same standards he's been applying to Batson guitars for over 2 decades. So stay tuned. And remember, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Google Play Music. Just search for Guitar Business Radio, and you can always listen on our website at guitarbusinessradio.com. Now it's time for this. Now it's time for Questionable Moments, the segment where we bring up relevant questions of interest to our listeners, bat them around a bit, and see what kind of answers we can come up with. So in episode 2, we brought you the following question. Where are the guitar-related opportunities of the future? I have to say that responses to this question were all over the map. Robert, one of our Facebook followers, had an interesting idea, and that was to create a 24-hour live auction or sales channel for guitar-related products. My first thought on this, frankly, brought up images of QVC or Home Shopping Network or some of those shows from whenever. I'm not sure if anyone has done that or something like it, but it doesn't seem like an outlandish idea to me. Whether it would work or not, I don't know. What do you think? Again from Facebook, J. Slick Ferguson. I love that name. Well, he advises to 1, learn how to play. 2, start a great band. 3, write actual good music and play it loud. 4, earn a living as a musician and entertainer. And 5, enjoy your life. Number 5 is probably the absolute most important part of that, but it sounds like a formula to me. Let us know if that works for you. And finally, this bit of wisdom from David Zimmerman. Have a great job, play your instrument professionally, and enjoy a wonderful life playing restaurants, bars, and outdoor events, and hope to offset your investment in your gear and make enough to break even. Well, that's a little stoic with a pinch of realistic non-expectations. I like it. Well, let me know if you're already doing that. Now, for some additional perspective on this issue, I'm going to be talking in just a bit with Michael Phifer of Musicians Institute's Guitar Craft Academy in Nashville. We're going to talk about how they are taking, in many ways, an upscale vocational approach to teaching folks a variety of skills that will hopefully allow them to take advantage of opportunities in a range of guitar-related businesses, so stick around for that. Now, for this week's new question that we'll be putting out there, where is the pedal industry heading? I'm going to think that this is going to generate some interesting discussion. It's a very crowded market, but does that matter? Let us know what you think on our website at guitarbusinessradio.com. Click Participate, or on Facebook or Twitter, find us at Guitar Business, hashtag Pedal Futures. Now for something completely different. So Michael Phifer is the institutional director for Musicians Institute's Guitar Craft Academy in Nashville. Now, this is an accredited school that's providing intensive hands-on training in specialized skills like guitar building, technical maintenance, and other areas designed to help a student launch a career in the music industry. Now, most of us are familiar with Musicians Institute in Hollywood. They've been there a long time. And a year and a half ago, they established a place in the heartland of America and are now offering a pathway to careers in guitar-related industries and others. And Michael Phifer joins us today. So, Michael, thank you for coming on the show with us today.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here talking with you.
Terrific. We had a chance to catch up a little bit the other day. So what I want to do is kind of set the stage for our listeners and have you tell us a little bit about the history of Guitar Craft Academy as part of Musicians Institute.
Well, Guitar Craft Academy, like you said, is a program of Musicians Institute. MI was founded in 1977 as Guitar Institute of Technology and then expanded with other performance instruments. And then in 1995, it was purchased by Mr. Shibuya, who owned ESP, a group of schools in Japan, and ESP Guitars and Schecter Guitars. And he started Guitar Craft Academy in Hollywood, and John Carruthers was the first teacher and helped develop the curriculum. So it's a 6 to 9 month program. We teach students to design, build, repair, and finish electric and acoustic guitars.
Wow, that was a pretty aggressive thing, and I would think in those days. I think just maybe to kind of put things into perspective, and we'll get into some of the weeds a little bit later, but maybe you could tell us how Guitar Craft Academy differs from other so-called schools of lutherie.
Well, I guess the main difference, Jeff, would be we're part of a music college. So students at Guitar Craft Academy have access to all the same services and also a network of alumni and the relationships as a college of music has with alumni and staff from all over the world. We're NASM accredited. It's the National Association of Schools of Music, so we can offer loans and grants, scholarships. We've got a state-of-the-art facility, a full machine shop, much larger facilities than other schools that I know of.
So that offers a lot of advantages from your point of view to students coming into the program. Definitely. I mean, like I said, one of the main advantages is just being part of Musicians Institute, which is a respected music college since 1977. And we have alumni from all over the world. So once you're a part of the school, you are a part of that network and able to use us for assistance in getting jobs from then on. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but I think from a branding standpoint and marketing the program, I want to also talk a little bit more detail about that down the road here, but that's got to be a bit of an advantage, wouldn't you think? Definitely, I would say so. Excellent. Let's move on and talk a little bit about what the business or professional goals most students come in with and what their prospects look like coming out.
Well, that's really interesting, Jeff. A lot of times the students coming into the program really don't understand the business or don't know the different paths that they could take. There are a few that have done a lot of research, or maybe they had a family member that, and know more about it, but a lot of them really don't. So that's one of the first things we try to do when they come into the program is, first of all, we'll let them know what those paths are, which, really your main choices is you could be a custom boutique builder. You could be focused on repair, restoration, having your own business or working for someone else. You could be a touring tech, a guitar tech on the road. You could specialize in finishing. Finishing is one of those crafts or one of those skills that a lot of people aren't comfortable with and don't enjoy doing it, but at least one out of every class, there will be someone that just is really natural with it. And I try to encourage that when I see them, because there's so many of the builders don't do their own finishing. So anyway, there's also quality control. You could make pickups or do research and development for guitar companies. So we try to really show them the differences, educate them on what they are and what to expect, and see which way they want to go. And once they do determine that path, and it may not be right away, but if I know that a student wants to just be a builder, then we'll try to, on a one-on-one basis with the teachers, try to give them more information about that or help guide them to that. And, same with repair and restoration.
Well, it sounds like there's a variety of paths outward. Would you say, there's been a lot of talk in other areas now about a resurgence in vocational training, and I'm not sure that's the right word for this particular institute, but is there a vocational component here, especially for folks that maybe say college isn't the thing for them and they want to get into this? Is this a good way to go for some of those folks?
Oh, definitely, Jeff. It is, this program really is more of a technical school vocational program. It is only 6 to 9 months, and you're right. There has been a resurgence of that the last couple of years because students simply the cost of tuition for a lot of these universities versus the chances of them getting certain jobs or coming out making enough money to live and pay back those loans and buy a house and a car. A lot of people are looking for shorter avenues now that don't cost as much. But in saying that, I also want to add that this isn't like welding or machine shop. If you come into this craft, you love guitars, you love music, you love being involved in that, working with your hands, and it is a specialized craft.
Yeah, so I'm curious. Besides, teaching the student these sort of mechanical skills, what, if anything, are you teaching them about the business and what they'll need to know if they're looking to make a profession out of this, especially if they're thinking about going into business for themselves? Anything along those lines?
Oh yeah, man. That's great that you asked that. That is a very important aspect and part of what we're doing here with them. It's not enough to just teach these folks to repair and build a guitar. If they're going to get out there in the world and be successful, they've got to have customer service skills. They have to know how to deal with people and interact and listen. They have to know how to be good employees. And that's something we try to teach them. And we get this feedback from relationships we have with manufacturers and builders. They'll tell me, Michael, if he doesn't have the highest level of skills, okay, I can teach him. What I can't teach him is how to be a good employee and how to listen to me and know what I want and do what he's told to do. So we really try to give, really highlight that and tell the guys how important that is. We also try to help them with writing resumes, cover letters, and instrument identification, how they are billed, and as far as writing trouble tickets. So let's say someone brings their guitar into them. It's got a major repair. Maybe the headstock's broke, and it's a $300 guitar. The tech has to identify that and be fair with the client and not charge him this amount and know that this guitar is not worth that. So, in writing trouble tickets and assessing instruments and in the value of the instrument and the repair, that's kind of a skill in its own. So we have that. We also have various guest speakers that come in. I'll have a road tech come in and talk about that craft. I'll have a boutique builder come in and teach about how he builds that business, taxes, things that people, insurances, workers' compensation, things that people don't think about when they go into a business a lot of times, and they end up flat on their face with it.
Maybe some accounting would be helpful in there too, or managing money, I would think. We do definitely talk about some managing of the money, and a lot of times that's kind of pertaining to their current situation, us just trying to help. We're a small... you get close to the teachers. I try to get to know the guys really well. Our admissions guy tries to get to know them really well. So, and then when they leave afterwards, we stay in touch. We want to help them get jobs and be successful. Well, it sounds like you've got a sort of I don't know if cradle to grave is kind of the right approach, but it's somewhere in between. It's kind of a start to finish, and then a little follow up. So that's that's got to be encouraging for people to come in. Can you describe the level of percentage of those folks that get through the program and move on? Is there a good percentage of them that do that? Because we know that there's got to be some dropout in almost any program like this.
Yes, Jeff, there's always someone that will come into the program and that didn't fully understand it. They'll get into the sanding and cutting of the body and, they'll say, what, this really isn't for me. Quicker they identify that, the better. But the ones, that is a small percentage from what I've experienced since we opened the school here in Nashville. The students, the graduates, alumni that's come out of here, so far about 80 to 90% of them, 85, 90, are working in the industry or had gotten a job out of school. One thing that I try to do is really be part of the community of, within this industry. I get out and I meet people, I visit their shops and try to build relationships so that, if a builder, a boutique builder, manufacturer, they're busy. If you put a resume out, as we all have done, and you get a stack of them in, it takes time to go through and assess. And I encourage them, please, before you do that, give us a call. We'll have students coming out. We can help place them for them and really cut down their frustration in the interview process and, in candidate selection.
So you're in Nashville. I don't know if we talked about this before, but you're not just, are you working primarily just with folks in that proximate area there, or are you placing people outside of the area at all, or how does that work?
Well, so far, most of we've only been open a year and a half here. So most of our graduates have gotten jobs within, Nashville, Williamson County, Clarksville. We do, our company does own ESP Guitars and Schecter Guitars, who are always willing to, interview and accept our graduates. We have Takamine. Also, I've been talking to Guitar Center lately, and, they're opening up what they call GC garages, which is a repair section aspect of Guitar Centers all across the country. So, we're trying to build relationships with companies like that so that we can offer graduates, opportunities in all areas of the country.
Got it. Well, that's helpful. And that gives you a chance to attract people. And I would assume at some point you may be attracting people in from other parts of the country that may need to come in there and reside for a while where they're going to school. Is that a possibility?
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. And also, being part of or being a program of Musicians Institute, which, in Hollywood, we have housing departments, we have career services, our alumni network, a database of that. So, they're connected all over the world. So there's, one of our guys just recently got sent over to Singapore. He was a graduate and he was a teacher's assistant here in Nashville, and he learned to run a Plek machine and got the opportunity to go over, and he'll pretty much, this will establish his career. So we're all really excited for him.
Well, that's awesome. Let's again shift gears just, a little bit here. And I'm kind of interested from your vantage point, how you would assess the state of the guitar market today in terms of where the weaknesses are and then maybe where the strengths and opportunities are.
Yeah,
it's a big question, but I think it's on the minds of a lot of people. And we've been talking about that. We talked about that in episode 1, and we're going to be talking about it for a little while just to get an overview, because everybody has a different perspective on it. So I'm interested, obviously, in yours.
Definitely. There's a few different aspects of it. One now, if you've been to guitar stores, music stores lately, you've seen on the wall so many instruments, around $300 or $400 price point. And they're of the quality that instruments that sold for $800 to $1,000 20, 25, 30 years ago, the same level of quality, and they're being mass produced overseas using CNC machines. So the overhead cost of making them is lower in some cases, or especially overseas. So you've got this influx of these instruments coming in, and a lot of younger people are purchasing them. kind of hard for some people to go out and spend $2,000 or $3,000 for a certain brand name guitar. So the guitar business, sales are kind of down now, but there's more instruments out there than ever. And a lot of these younger people buying these instruments, in many cases, don't know how to properly set them up or even change the strings. So you're going to get a lot of tech work from that. And then another aspect, something that's happening, is a lot of people are kind of leaning, getting away from the traditional, manufacturers, and they still want those same popular styles, those identities like a Les Paul or, a Strat or Telecaster, but they're looking for something that's more unique that everyone doesn't have. So boutique builders that will build a lot of these, I don't want to say imitation, but kind of a variation on those popular models, using higher qualities, higher, the parts are higher quality, the skill in the crafting of the instrument or in the wood, trying to use things that are more sustainable. That's a big thing. Mm-hmm. So people are kind of going towards those, which is great. It's given all these boutique builders a chance to really get their businesses, moving. And if you read, Vintage Guitar or Guitar Player, you'll see more and more of these guys in there.
Well, I think that's right. Yeah.
So, they're able, they also don't have the big manufacturing facilities, and, they can change and customize stuff, and people really like that. It gives them that identity of that model that they like, or that tried and true design, but kind of their own, image. And then, another part of the market that is blown up is the vintage market. All these pre-war Martins, a lot of these guitars are selling for over $100,000, $50,000, $100,000, $150,000. And many cases, they've been repaired, but improperly and really kind of mangled in some instances. So the restoration side of that, being able to identify that instrument and know how it was built, what type of glue was used, the techniques, and being able to go back and repair it or restore it, because you don't just want to repair it. You want to make it look like it was never touched. And there is a high demand for techs that are that skilled in that.
But isn't that tends to be something that when you get into that level of the market, usually you have to have some years behind you, and you've got some skill levels that somebody might not have coming right out of school, I would imagine. But yes. But I think from what you're saying, my interpretation is that you have a lot of instruments out there. I think there's a lot of different perspectives on what the sales numbers look like and what the numbers mean. But along with the maintenance and the aftermarket work, that part of the industry may end up being the most viable for a lot of folks that are coming into the market, aside from those, of course, getting jobs at larger companies, but hard to know how many of those are there. But is that a fair assessment?
That is, Jeff. That's very fair. It's excuse me. We try to let these students know when they're in here, if they want to build guitars, great. We will teach them, and we will do everything we can to help them. But in most cases, or when someone does it, it's like anything else. It takes several years of building up your name and your reputation and getting your guitars in the right hands. Meanwhile, you have to eat. You've got to pay your bills, and you're going to be doing repairs most of the time to earn your money. And so you can, we tell these guys, if you want to build, great, but you've got to be a great repair tech. You do that, and then you build on the side and get that going over time.
Well, I'll tell you, I've spent a lot of time working with guitar builders, a lot of small guitar builders in the early days, and a lot of them, even with great talent have found ways to exploit the repair business because they know what they're doing, and many of them, quite frankly, and unfortunately, because of the nature of the market, have had to sort of resort to that, whether they want to or not. But I think there are a lot of them that it's a skill that they have, and it's very close to doing what they would normally do as a builder. So, that has been a viable option for a lot of these guys who are small-time builders, 8, 10, 12 guitars a year, to be able to augment their business. But let me just go on to a kind of a final thing that I want to talk about here. And I'm interested in what kind of marketing strategies Guitar Craft Academy has been using. What's working, maybe what's not working. I realize not everybody wants to share their trade secrets, and they may not want to share the negative sides, but give me your best shot and tell me whatever you can on that front.
Well, sure. Well, we've done radio advertisement, and that seems to, in this part of the country, work very well. It's just, it takes time, and you have to, it's the frequency, you have to keep getting that message out there every day. We've done some news stories, with Channel 4 and Fox 17, Channel 5. But that's kind of a one-time thing. You get, I'll get phone calls the next day or for a week saying, hey, I saw you guys on TV, and they want to know more about it. What has worked the best for us is our open house. And that's when people can come in and really see the facilities, and we can go over our classes and what they're going to learn. We have hands-on demo sessions to let them get a feel of maybe spraying a guitar body, with paint, and see how a bending machine works for acoustic guitars and proper setups. And so we talk about that. We offer auditions and, go over some financial aid. That's worked well. And one thing we've been doing here lately is partnering with string companies, and we'll go to a music store or high traffic area around the city and set up for a couple hours, and we give people free string changes and diagnose their guitar and tell them, what it needs.
Wow, that's a neat deal. Do you have people standing in line for that?
Yes. We just did one at Gruen Guitar a couple of weeks ago, and that was great. I mean, just being able to get out and interact with the public, because so many people don't know that this is a career path. And I mean, over and over, people will come up to me and say, well, I didn't know this was a thing, or I never thought about guitars being built or repaired. Yeah. And then that gives me an opportunity to tell them, about us and the craft and the school as a whole. Wow. And there's also social media. I mean, everything is Instagram, Facebook. So we try to, we film things here, like a 2-minute tech tip, something about the guitar, or repairs. We'll show students, repairing things or using machinery or, painting their guitar, and just trying to interact with people. So those are the main things.
Well, that sounds like a good array. And obviously some or most of it is working. The doors are still open and growing. And that really leads me to my final question, which is about any longer range expansion plans, if any, that you have for GCA.
Yes. There's two parts to that. One is the expansion of GCA. We're working on a 3-month extension that focuses on higher level repairs right now. We haven't put that out yet, but we're writing the curriculum for that now, and some electronics. We're also planning to, offer other programs and, songwriting, production, guitar, and other instruments.
Wow.
So we would like to,
we'd
like
expansion.
to grow it up.
So you're really talking about maybe building that out to a more diverse curriculum that Maybe it's not MI Hollywood, but it certainly offers a broader array of options.
Definitely. You know, what, especially here in Nashville, so many musicians are moving here, people that write songs, they produce, they play guitar. Let's be honest. A lot of people that come out and, I went to Hollywood wanting to be a rock star. It just wasn't for me. There's a lot more people that have that dream that actually are able to do it. But if you could come to a school and take 6-9 months of Lutherie training and do another year in a guitar performance or in producing and be able to put those together, you would have a well-rounded and many more opportunities could be open to you.
Well, that sounds like a very worthy goal and, an exciting future that we will definitely want to keep in touch on and find out what happens. But Michael, I wish we had some more time, and I hope that we'll have a chance to talk again in the future. But I really thank you for taking this time and visiting with us today.
Well, I thank you, Jeff, for giving me the opportunity to be on your show here and let me tell you about the school. So thank you very much.
Well, that's great. And we'll talk again soon. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
So in episode 1 and 2, I talked about a very simple formula we use and encourage clients to use anytime they're dealing with anything that even remotely has to do with marketing and sales. And that, of course, is the 3 C's. And again, to review, the 3 C's are simply capture the attention, convey the message, compel the action. In episode 2, I talked a bit about capturing the attention. If you missed it, it's in the section near the end of the podcast that we call the value shot. Appropriately, I hope you get some value out of it. And if you have, or you have questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. Once again, I want to reiterate. I'm participating in the Race to Simplicity, which, by the way, will apparently not be broadcast on ESPN this year. I'm not sure why. It's kind of a shame. But you will be hearing me use derivatives of the word simple a lot in these segments because I've made it part of my thought process. It's like an app that's always on. When things appear to be getting overcomplicated, the app chimes in, literally, and informs me of the state of my thinking and suggests a pathway to resimplification, which, by the way, is the current title of my book coming out later this year, or later, whichever comes first. So how do you convey the message? It's simple. Remember, I like sets of 3. So here they are. Be direct, be brief, get to the point. There's no order to those. You just have to do them all. But in this case, there's actually a 4th item that is separate because it's as important as all 3 of those put together, and that is be relevant. Okay, so maybe you're thinking, isn't that obvious? Isn't there more? Is that all there is? And those may seem like reasonable questions, but again, remember, I talk a lot about foundations and foundational stuff. And that's a lot of what this is right now, building a thoughtful foundation where you install these very basic ideas into your thinking on a regular basis. Over time, that's going to reduce the number of times you have to stop and go back to square one because you didn't build the process on a solid foundation. And I can assure you, I can get much deeper into the weeds on these things, and I will a bit later, but right now, I'd like for you to just work at embedding these simple ideas into your thinking. Don't overcomplicate it. One of the many things of value I've learned from a great teacher and friend of mine in my later life is something that has given me a great understanding of how knowledge and expertise, if you will, is gained. It is always gradual, sequential, and cumulative. That's why it's important, in my view, to frequently stop what we're doing and reflect on what we've learned and from where we've come so that we can be inspired by our own growth and accomplishment, whatever that is. It's a magnificent feeling. You should try it. In the next episode, I'll talk more about the 3rd C, compelling action. Like tuning into the next episode. In the meantime, as always, stay positive, stay focused on the destination, and keep all the options open on how you're going to get there. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on episode 4. And that's it for this episode of Guitar Business Radio. Thanks for being with us. You can stay tuned and stay in touch at guitarbusinessradio.com.